is up. All set, Pi?
Yep, I'm all ready.
Good, good. Okay, just get everybody in and then we'll get started. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Teaching Live Grammar Week 4. Those of you that had your SPAG tests last week, I hope doing these grammar sessions helped, and I hope you survived the experience. It's it's not something I'd wish on anybody really, but you've got through it, you've done it, and you're still here, so that's the main thing. How are you this morning, Pi?
Me, I'm unlike David. I have in peak condition yet again. Look at the state of him. I'm doing well. We've had a bit of sunshine at the weekend. All is good. So, yeah, I'm good. And how are you, David?
I'm not too good, Pi. A bit we're man down, down with a bit of flu and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, not a great few days, but I'm here still. I might go very quiet and I might disappear, but I'll be in the background sorting all the Padlets out as we go, and always looking forward to what the children get up to and how they can impress us in these sessions. So that hasn't changed.
Yeah, and of course, I don't know if we said it before, but the grammar that people have to learn or expected to learn, it is quite complicated, some of it. And today we're going to look at sentences. I think we all know what a sentence is. It's a group of words that, well, you see, it's very hard to explain what a sentence is, let alone anything else, John. A group of words that stand together and represent a meaning of some sort. It's hard to define.
Sense. I think the fact that it makes sense is
It
important.
makes sense, yeah. And it starts with a capital letter, ends with a full stop or some other punctuation mark. They're odd things, sentences, because I think by the time you're in year 5 and 6, everybody knows what they are. But to actually define it's a bit tricky. But in the first game we're going to play, we're just going to look at statements, commands, the 4 types, John, and we need to get up, if you may, the teaching notes so we can look at the examples and then we will play the game.
Right, I will do that. So here, can everybody see that? Can you see that, Pi?
Yeah, we can see that. We're on 11 a.m.
Go to the teacher notes.
And the game keep going down. Right, we've got our 4 types of sentences, and no doubt you know these. Statements, just when you make a statement, when you say something like John walked down the road. Questions, we know that. You've been working on those since reception. And often you have a question word like why, when, how, where. Or did John walk down the road? Or can John walk down the road? Question asks you something and demands an answer. Commands. That tells you, commands you to do something. Everyone's familiar with those. Walk down the road, run to the end of the field and back, put that down. So
it's the old bossy verbs, isn't it, Pi?
Absolutely. And then you've got the exclamation. And this is the weird one because you would have thought an exclamation was any sentence that had an exclamation mark, but it isn't. Now, you're allowed to use exclamation marks to emphasize what you've said, like run for it, exclamation mark, or watch out, exclamation mark. But technically, when you're looking at types of sentences, the thing to remember is what and how. What big eyes you've got. How savage you look, how hungry I am. So it's what and how sentences. That's the way to remember it.
And it is tricky because how could also be used, and what can also be used as questions. So the fact that it says, how did John walk down the road, doesn't make it an exclamation because that's a question. Or what was John wearing when he walked down the road is a question, not an exclamation.
Yes, but if we said, how ridiculous is John? I suspect that's an exclamation.
It is. It is.
Okay, so the game is going to be this: partner A and partner B. So partner A suggests a topic like dog, and partner B has to make a statement. The dog barked. Partner B asks a question about the dog. Why are the dogs barking? Then you go to partner. It goes A, B, back to command. Bark at the burglar. So tell the dog what to do. And then exclamation. What an annoying dog. So that's the game, John. Let's have a go at doing it. So do you want to start us off?
Okay, I'll start off with a topic, and it will be cheese.
I knew it would be. My statement is quite simply, John likes to eat Lancashire cheese.
So I've got to now ask a question.
Yep.
Why does John like Lancashire cheese?
I'm doing a command. Eat that revolting cheese.
And I'm going to do an exclamation. What a wonderful piece of cheese.
Okay, let's swap roles. I'll give you one this time. So you went for cheese. I'm going to go for hamster.
Well, I had in my mind's eye that you were going to say dragon there, Pi, but so you've disappointed me with the hamster.
Wrong hamsters.
So a statement about a hamster. My hamster loses its hair.
The question would be under which floorboard did you last see the hamster?
And I'm going to give you a command. Grab the hamster.
And the exclamation. What an irritating pet that hamster makes.
So I'll give you a suggestion, and I will say torch. A torch.
Not for the first time. Bilbo wished that he had brought a torch with an everlasting battery with him.
That was a very long and complicated statement. Question. Why did you forget the torch?
A command. Grab that torch and shine it in the dragon's eyes.
What a dazzling torch.
Okay, I think we've all got the idea. Everybody should know this. The only tricky one is the what and how exclamation that you've got to watch out for. So shall we get 4 minutes on the clock, bounce it backwards and forwards, just getting a feel for different types of sentences?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll start the timer, but I'll switch back to this screen so you've got the four types of sentences there, so you know what you're doing. And you're swapping each time. It's partner A suggests the topic, then partner B suggests the topic, and so on. Okay, so without further ado, 4 minutes on the clock, starting now. Okay, that's the end of the 4 minutes. So we'll go to the session page. So along the top to sessions and click on the 11 a.m. grammar session. And we'll go straight to Padlet activity number 1.
Okay, so this is very simple. We've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that at first glance look like sentences, and all you have to do is to rewrite the ones that aren't sentences. Mrs. Bingo, the cat across the garden. So we'll work on that one. Mrs. Bingo, the cat across the garden. What's wrong there, John?
There's no verb, Pi.
There's no verb, therefore it's not a sentence. What would you have, Mrs. Bingo?
Oh, I'd go for spotted.
The cat across the garden, or chased the cat across the garden, or ran after the cat across. So that's all you're going to write. Your other ones, so we've done that one. Don't worry about Mrs. Bingo. So the ones for you are the king ate the donut, the cat ate the cream, the rush down the street chased by them policemen, eat up all your food, snakes feared by most people, when I to town I went shopping, I going home soon. So you've got to rewrite it and make it into a sentence, unless, of course, you think it is a sentence. That's all it is, John. Straightforward, don't have to do anything fancy to it. It's grammar activity, remember.
So rewrite these, or correct these.
If they need correction.
If they need correction, indeed. Well, that's an interesting.
And we'll look at them at the end and just go over them. But let's see, by them, everyone should have got going.
I think one thing you could say here, Pi, is that if some of them might be a sentence, but they're not necessarily a good sentence. So Afra and Isla from JMPS, I am going home soon. Yep.
Eat up all your food.
So you've corrected it there, Mishka. You've put a capital E to start the sentence, and you've added an exclamation mark instead of the. That's one way of doing it. You could do. There are other things you could do with that one to make it into a sentence, but your way is just as good. Mrs. Bingo glared at the cat across the garden. Yeah. Mrs. Bingo carried the cat across the garden. Mrs. Bingo chased the cat across the garden. The mum ate the cake. The dad ate the icing. So you need something between, need a poppy. You need a piece of punctuation between the two elements here. So the mum ate the cake. The dad ate the icing. How are you going to... the mum ate the cake, the dad ate the icing. You need some punctuation in the middle there somewhere.
Well done, Sophie and Bella. That's one way of doing it. The king ate the donut, that one. Brooklyn and Olivia.
Yeah.
When I walked to town, I went shopping. That's fine, but you've got a small I. So grammatically, it's not correct, but you can edit it.
Kenzie, I'm going home soon. Hyder has gone for finish your food to eat, for change for eat up all your food to finish your food. Simpler. Snakes feared by most people. Isa has gone for snakes are feared by most people. That works for me.
I'm going home soon, said Ralph. You need a bit of punctuation after the word soon, before the closing of the speech marks. Have a look at that. Oliver from St. Patrick's. The Joe Biden ate all the donuts. The Donald Trump ate all the Big Macs. At the moment, you've got a comma between those two bits. But unfortunately, that's incorrect.
Mm.
You've actually got two sentences there. There are two ways of dealing with it, but you can go back and edit it.
And Richard and Ollie from JMPS, John Moore. The king ate the dark chocolate donut, comma, the cat licked the ice cream right off suddenly. And you've got the same problem there, Richard and Ollie. They are two separate sentences, so you need to think about how you're going to deal with that. There's two ways. One that I can't remember who it was right higher up used a semicolon. It was Sophie and Bella from JMPS. They're being very sophisticated using a semicolon, or you can use a full stop, but you can't use a comma.
There is a third way. Mukti's gone. The king ate the ice cream while the cat chomped on the cone.
Oh gosh, well done, Mukti. Yeah. You
Yeah.
what you've done there is turned it into one sentence.
Yep, that was clever.
by turning the second part into a subordinate clause.
Yeah, Tyler's done the same. The king ate the donut as the cat ate the cream. But Tyler, you don't need that comma, and you do need a full stop. But well done, well thought through. We're pretty good at this, John. Do we need to come out of it?
Yeah, I think so. We will come out of that one. I have to confess, Pi.
Yeah.
When I saw that one, the king ate the donut, the cat ate the cream. I thought, well, yeah, that's two sentences. So
Yes.
you either need to leave it as it is and just put a full stop there, which
Yes.
means the capital letter there. You could use a semicolon, in which case you'd leave that as because the
Yes.
two sentences are related to each other.
Yes.
But I hadn't thought you could
No.
actually turn that into a subordinate clause by adding while or as.
Yes.
So that was good.
The sentence below, John, obviously is missing a noun. Let's say I don't know, policeman, the robber rushed down the street chased by them policemen. That's quite common, that them, by the policeman or those policemen or some policemen.
Yes, but them is incorrect.
Yeah.
It's a speech one. And that does sneak into writing a lot because in certain parts of the country, you would, instead of saying those, you would say them.
Yeah.
And this one, Pi, snakes feared by most people. I think somebody corrected it to snakes are feared by most people.
Yeah, that works.
Which works. When I go to town, I went shopping. You've got the incorrect form of the verb there. You could go, when I go to town, I went shopping. Or
you
missed the verb completely. Yeah.
Yeah. When I went to town, I went shopping. When I went to town, you can't say I go shopping. It'll be when I go to town, I go shopping.
Yeah. I am going home soon. Yeah, very good. So we'll go straight back to the session page.
Now we're going to look at main and subordinate clauses.
We'll go into Padlet activity number 2.
Oh, you're on the wrong thing completely.
I've gone to the wrong session page.
Yeah, always good to catch you out. Padlet 2. So, main and subordinate clause, you will have done a lot of work on this. We look at the first one, John. We've got two verbs, two things going on. We've got hoping to see the dog. He peered over the wall. So we've got a main clause and a subordinate. Subordinate means less important. One of them, the main one, will stand on its own as a sentence. So let's see. Which one sounds like a sentence? Hoping to see the dog, or he peered over the wall?
So it's quite an easy one, that, Pi, because if you wrote hoping to see the dog full stop, you'd be confused because it wouldn't make sense to you.
Yeah.
You would expect more information for it to make sense. But if you wrote as a sentence, he peered over the wall, you know exactly what the writer means.
Okay.
And that makes complete sense on its own.
Absolutely. So we've got excited by the music, the class danced. She jumped over the path while they were chasing her. After the king ate the donut, the monkey slept. Rain falls when clouds get too heavy. Peter, who was feeling weary, sat down on the bench. After running for a long time, Bob sneezed until his glasses fell off. So they get a little bit harder as you go along. Don't bother with the first one. We've done that. And all you've got to do is to write the main clause. So you're now going to write a series of sentences by extracting the main clause. So with the first one, you would have written, he peered over the wall with a capital letter, capital H. Now, while you get going, somebody's just come to the door, so I'm going to disappear for about 10 seconds, John.
Right, I'll hold the fort, Pie.
Man.
So you just need to write the main clause properly punctuated. You don't need to change it at all. Just write the main clause for these. In fact, you might do them all in one post-it if you want to.
John, we're just getting quite a few children writing the exact same sentence out that's on the post-it there for some reason.
So if you take the first one, hoping to see the dog, he peered over the wall. So the correct response to that is the main clause is he peered over the wall. So that's all you need to write, but you need to punctuate it correctly. So for the other 6, pick out the main clause and write that main clause.
And there's also quite a lot of children just writing their own sentences.
Okay, we don't want that either. We want the main clause from the sentences that are on the screen. So you've got them there in front of you. They're on that Padlet. So we just want the main clause.
So are you going to, the one you're starting with is excited by the music, the class danced. So are you going to write excited by the music or the class danced? And you need a capital letter and full stop. You're writing the main clause, which actually is a sentence. It's the main thing happening. The subordinate bit is the other bits that are going, that are added on. The extra information.
Right, so we've got some coming through.
Yep.
Indy from Bolton Parish, the class danced. Mishka agrees, the class danced, as do Kieran and Sophie at St. Patrick's, Afra and Isla at JMPS, Archie and Joshua at St. Patrick's, and so on. So looking at that second one, excited by the music, the class danced. So if I wrote the sentence, excited by the music, full stop, you would be wondering what that sentence meant. But if I wrote the class danced, full stop, that would make sense on its own. So that, the class danced, is the main clause, and that's all you need to write.
Yeah, we're getting it now. People are just putting in the main clause. This should be very, very simple, very straightforward. The last 2 are a little bit trickier. And all the ones David are putting up got a capital letter, and nearly all of them have got a full stop. Mariam from Bolton Parish, you need to nip back and edit.
Charlie from Lancaster Road ate the donut. That's not right, Charlie. You need to have a look at that sentence again. Have a look at that one. The sentence was, after the king ate the donut, the monkey slept. So there's 2 clauses there. The first one is after the king ate the donut, and the second clause is the monkey slept. Which one of those 2 clauses is the main clause? Kai from Bolton Parish has got it right. The monkey slept, as has Adil. The monkey slept. Ibrahim from Bolton Parish.
Kieran and Sophie from St. Patrick's. You've got Bob sneezed until his glasses fell off. You've actually got 2 clauses there. 2 things, Bob sneezing and the glasses fell off. So the main clause is one of those. It's either until his glasses fell off or Bob sneezed. And Alex and Connell from JMPS, you've got the same problem. You've got 2 clauses. And Mishka, you've got 2 clauses. And Maria, 2 clauses.
There must be 50 or so post-it saying Bob sneezed until his glasses fell off.
Right. So if we look at that sentence, I'll just pull it up.
That's 2 clauses.
After the Pi's tricked you here, everybody. Because he's what he's done is, after running for a long time, that's a clause because there's a verb in there, running for a long time. And all of you have spotted that that's actually a subordinate clause because it needs more information. And then you've got Bob sneezed until his glasses fell off. Now you've got another verb sneaking in there, fell off. So so until his glasses fell off is a separate clause. And that tells you that the main clause is simply Bob sneezed. So that's Pi being a little bit tricky with you there. So see if anybody's got that one. That last one.
No, not so far.
I don't think they have. I've not seen one so far, but I expect there'll be lots coming in now.
So well, there will be now, yes. So the clue is spotting the verbs.
Yes.
Because if you spot the verb, you know that there's a clause associated with that verb. So Bob sneezed until his glasses fell off. If I had just written that, I'm sure you'd have all got it right, because you'd have said to yourself, Bob sneezed and until his glasses fell off are the 2 clauses. But because Pi's thrown in a third clause, that's caught you out. So the main clause for that one is Bob sneezed. And looking at this one, has anybody got that one right?
Got the Pete one.
The Pete one.
Yes. We've had a couple that are correct. Sophie from Bolton Parish was the first. Well done, Bo and Macy. Reese and Cheyenne, well done.
So if we look at that one, what Pi's done there, he's dropped in extra information. Who was feeling weary? So the actual main clause is split, because sat down on a bench on its own doesn't make sense. But who sat down on a bench? Pete sat down on a bench. Pete, who was feeling weary, sat down on a bench. So you can see the commas that Pi's put in around this little extra snippet of it, this extra clause. He's dropped in an extra clause. And so Pete sat down on a bench is the main clause. So that's the correct answer.
So the last one was the hardest. I think we probably come out of that one now.
Yeah. So we'll come out of this Padlet and go back to the session page.
In the main, pretty good. Apart from that last one, which I caught you out.
Yes, it's
I'm so happy.
It's tricky, and it's
tricky, yes.
It's the trick is spotting the verbs. And if you spot a verb, you know you've got a clause.
Yes.
Isn't that right, Pi?
It is. Shall we go to the
we'll go to the PowerPoint.
A little summary. So it sort of summarizes it. We sort of know it, but then can you do it is the question. So first bit is about what sentences, group of words that work together as a unit of meaning, capital letter, full stop, or question, stroke, exclamation mark. And the thing stands on its own. It makes sense on its own. So that's, I think everybody has a good feel for a sentence. Now we look at the clauses. They're like sort of mini sentences joined together. And we've got, 4 types of sentences. So we did that. And the tricky one you have to actually, statement of question, easy. Commands, they're the bossy ones. Walk down the road. I mean, the exclamation, you just got to remember what and how. And it's where you're exclaiming about something. What a shiny car. I always remember what big eyes you've got.
Yes.
You know, from whatever it's called, Little Red Riding Hood. I have that.
And what you've done there, Pi, how tall have you grown? You've put a full stop at the end, not an exclamation mark, because the exclamation, you don't have to have an exclamation mark on an exclamation if you don't want to.
I think that's correct. Yeah. So if we go to the next one, we'll be on to our friends, the clauses. So it's a group of words, as John was saying, built around a verb. They can be complete sentences, like the dog ate the bone. So you've got, that's one clause, and it is also a sentence. The dog ate the bone before jumping on the sofa. We got 2 things happening, eating bones and jumping on sofas. So we got 2 clauses. The dog ate the bone before jumping on the sofa. And then we got 3 clauses. The dog ate the bone, jumped onto the sofa and snoozed. So we've got 3 things happening there.
Yeah, and Pi's helpfully highlighted the verbs in red. So it's the verbs are the key to spotting clauses.
Yeah. So if we go to the next one, we've got main and subordinate. The old man ran down the hill. So it's the main stands on its own and it is a sentence. The subordinate is the extra bit of information. So if you look at the old man ran down the hill after eating lunch, we got the old man ran down the hill after eating lunch. You can't, John would think I was mad if I said to him, after eating lunch. You'll be saying, yeah, well, what happened after eating lunch? So it doesn't stand on its own. So that bit is the subordinate, the less important, the extra bit of information doesn't stand on its own. The old man ran down the hill. That is a proper sentence. That's the main clause.
And the bit that caught people out is that the main clause can be split. You can buy the old man, comma, after eating lunch, comma, ran down the hill.
Yeah.
You can do that as well. And that can catch people out.
So subordinate means less important. They don't make sense on their own, like after eating lunch. They need the main clause to make sense. The dog slept after eating lunch. So after eating lunch, we've got that verb there, eating. That's the subordinate. It's the extra bit of information, which is good to know, but we didn't necessarily need it. Now, they can be found in different places. So they can come at the end. After the king ate the donut, the monkey slept. So main clauses at the end, the subordinate clauses at the beginning. Rain falls when clouds get too heavy. So there we've got the main clause at the front, subordinate at the end. And then that's the drop-in one. Pete, who was feeling weary, sat down on the bench. So the main clause is Pete sat down on the bench. Who was feeling weary is the extra clause, extra bit of information. So they can come at the front, they can come at the end, they can come in the middle. And the last one, we've got the main clause in the middle, Bob sneezed, and then we've got the 2 subordinate clauses, one either end. And actually, I could have gone for it and said, after running for a long time, Bob, who was feeling hungry, sneezed until his glasses fell off. I could have actually lobbed the 3rd one in the middle. So the subordinate clauses can come at the beginning, they can come at the end, they can come in the middle, and they can come either side of a main clause.
The key is spotting the bit that makes sense completely on its own. So if I said to you, the monkey slept, you would know exactly what I was meaning. But if I said to you, after the king ate the donut, you'll be saying, and what happened? It wouldn't make sense on its own.
Okay, so commas. Now, we all know about commas to separate items in some sort of a list, because you learn that in instructions. What you need, colon, a spade, comma, a large brown sheet, comma, some slices of meat, and a tasty treat for the dragon. So we all know that. My example is he picked up a lemon, an apple, 3 buns, and a cake. You can also get them after the fronted adverbials. So we've got slowly, a nice ly one, excited by the news, that's an ed one, and then we've got these linking words and phrases. After that, turn on the machine. Furthermore, many people believe in fresh food. Actually, when you read it, John, when you say it, there is a slight pause. But if you know about fronted adverbials, then it comes after that particular bit.
Can I ask a question, Pi?
Yes.
So in the first one, slowly she walked down the road.
Yeah.
The main clause is she walked down the road.
Yes.
So slowly is not a clause because it's an adverb.
Yes.
And therefore there's only one clause in the sentence.
Yes.
The second one, excited by the news, she skipped. Now you've got a verb, an extra verb in there, excited. So that there's two. So although it's a fronted adverbial, excited by the news,
there are 2
that's
clauses.
actually a clause. So
Yes,
it's 2 clauses in that one.
Yeah.
So that's so after that and furthermore, they're just
Adverbs.
Adverbs. So they're not separate clauses.
No.
Right. Okay. And with that,
You think too deeply. So we've also got after subordinate clauses at the front of sentences, hoping she would not be seen because it was cold. And number 4 is the one that probably we don't do enough of. It's where you add on bits of information, extra bits. We've got an in clause and an ed one. She ran. I mean, with a bit of extra explanation. She ran, comma, stumbling on the pavement, or the cow stood still, bewildered by the noise.
So that's kind of the opposite of a fronted adverbial.
Yes. It's the other end.
So is it a back-ended adverbial?
No, I don't know what it's called, but there's no such thing as a back. There's only fronted ones.
Okay.
Interestingly, you can say stumbling on the pavement, she ran, or bewildered by the noise, the cow stood still.
Exactly. I was about to say those can very easily become fronted adverbials, but you're right. We don't often write in that way.
No,
she ran, stumbling on the pavement.
Yeah, tag on an extra, an ing or an ed one. It's not a bad thing to remember.
No, it is. I hadn't really sort of thought about that. So that's a good point, Pi.
Yeah, it's worth looking out for those. And then we've got parenthesis. Now, parenthesis is the overall word you use to describe dropping in extra information. We had the who one earlier. So now we've got Bill, the pirate's son, ran for it. That's not a clause, the pirate's son. It's just a description of Bill. He is the son of the pirate. Bill, who was scared, we got was scared. So that is a clause. That's a relative clause because it's a who. And then we got an ing one. Bill, hoping he would be saved, ran for it. So when you drop a bit in, you sort of cordon it off with a couple of commas. And also, of course, we use it in punctuating speech. Hello, he said. You have to have the comma or an exclamation or a question mark, but not a full stop.
Yes, and that always confuses me, that one, Pi, because you normally an exclamation mark and a question mark are taught as special types of full stop.
Yes.
And therefore, when you put them in speech, if I said, hello, are you going to school today? Question mark. And you put that in quote marks, and then you put he said or Pi asked. No, not Pi asked, because that's a proper noun. But if you put he said, you still use a small h.
Yes.
So that's that. I always found that confusing when I was writing speech. It's one of those rules that you need to
Just got to learn it. after the speech, before the closing speech marks, it's either exclamation, question mark, or comma. Can't be anything else.
And you don't follow it with a capital letter unless you're using a proper noun.
Yeah, and you're right. It doesn't really make sense, but there we go.
Yes.
And then the last one, this amuses me. So we sometimes use commas to help the reader. So let's have a look at it. Before drinking Bob, Joe and Tom were thirsty. So that one sounds as if Joe and Tom were thirsty before they drank Bob. The second one, before drinking, Bob, Joe, and Tom were thirsty.
Yes, that's a common thing to make that mistake. But it actually, the way you punctuate it in the second one there, Pi, makes complete sense, because you've got Bob, Joe, and Tom were thirsty is the main clause.
Yes.
And so therefore, before drinking is a second clause and a subordinate clause, and therefore you need a comma after it. You don't always need a comma after subordinate clause, but you do in this case to make it make sense.
Yeah. It's
right.
Tricky. Okay, so that's that. Let's get to the third.
That's a really useful PowerPoint, that one, Pi, and I think people should, maybe have that one on repeat review in the classroom, just to get your head around all the different variations on the basics of sentences and clauses and all that. Right. Go on.
I like main and subordinate clauses.
I loved it. I loved doing it. We used to do grammar exercises at school, and underlining the main clause, that was a real fun activity for me. I don't know why.
You're similar to me. I enjoyed it. Now, what are we doing here? This is about joining things together. So if we look at the first one, we've got a couple of sentences. John looked at the banana. John ate the banana greedily. Now, you can hear, if you were writing, that would sound a bit naff. You wouldn't write, John ate the banana. John ate the banana greedily. It's the repetition of John, isn't it? And the banana. So you would probably say, John looked at the banana and ate it greedily. Or looking at the banana, John ate it greedily, or greedily, John looked at the banana and ate it. So the idea is you've got 2 or 3 or 4, and I think did I do a longer one? 5. 5. So you've got some simple sentences, like the fox slept, it had traveled a long way. Now you've got to join them together and see if you can trim it up. The fox slept.
You got to say, in other words, you've got to turn these into a single sentence.
Yes.
Okay, so each one of these so in this one, the fox slept, it had traveled a long way. If you turn that into a single sentence, put those two together, you might need to change some words.
If you look at the Susie one, Susie rode a bike, she went down the lane, she was being chased. You're going to need to get rid of the she's probably. You might need one of them, I don't know. And that the giant loomed over the villagers. It stooped down, it drank from the pond. So you've got 3 its there and 2 looms. So it's about tightening it up, and you're going to need one sentence, capital letter, full stop. So Leon has absolutely cracked on with the marmalade cat.
The marmalade cat went slowly along the wall after it had seen a bird. So the original.
He's got all the ideas in there.
Crept. It was a marmalade cat. It went along the wall. It went slowly. It had seen a bird. That's a top effort, Leon. Well done.
Yeah,
I think you were much quicker off the draw than me on that one. I was racking my brains on that one a bit.
That's a hard one. I've known teachers be defeated by that.
Poppy from St. Pat's. Looking at the donut, Poppy ate the donut. Straight away, you can hear in the way I read that, doesn't sound quite right. So what can you do to that, Poppy, to improve that sentence?
We've ended up with, looking at the donut, Poppy ate the donut. You've got the repetition of the donut, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. And she's taken it off, so I can tell that she's busily rewriting that one. The fox slept because it had travelled a long way. Jacob from Bolton Parish, Adil from Bolton Parish, both got that right. So Oscar from Lancaster Road, you need to have a look at that one again. The fox slept, it had travelled a long way.
That's 2 sentences, John.
2 sentences. You need to.
Same as Clover and Connie.
Kai's got the fox slept after it had travelled a long way. Yeah,
And
that works.
Amelia and
The fox,
Dexter have got 2 sentences too, so that's need to do something to it.
and the fox slept as it had travelled a long way. That works as well, Lacey from Lancaster Road.
And Oliver.
The fox slept since, you don't need a comma there, Brooklyn and Olivia. The fox slept, that's a bit of a tongue twister. The fox slept since, and you've used they. Now that they would mean, if you said the foxes slept, plural, more than one, then that would be correct. But since they had travelled a long way, since it had travelled a long way, because there's only one fox, you don't need the comma.
Sophie and Theo, you've missed out the fact that Susie was going down the lane and being chased. So you need to rewrite yours.
Amelia and Dexter, you need to have a look at yours again. So Amelia and Dexter from JMPS.
Yes.
Quite a tricky one, that one. But Emma from St. Pat's, Susie went down the path on her bike while being chased. Now that's getting close to, that's correct. That works for me.
Unfortunately, Matteo and your chum, Susie rode her bike quickly. She turned down the lane as she was being chased. Susie rode her bike quickly. That's not quite right. You've ended up with 2 sentences.
Yes, it's quite it's a good almost. Susie rode her bike quickly. You wouldn't need a comma there, and you'd put a full stop after quickly.
Yeah.
If you'd put quickly, Susie rode her bike as a fronted adverbial, you would put a comma in. Susie rode her bike quickly, and then you've got a separate sentence. So you just need to work on that one a little bit. John greedily stared at the banana and ate it hungrily. Casper from Lancaster Road, that works. Mukti, the giant loomed over the villagers as it stooped down to drink from the pond. Yes, well done, Mukti.
Yeah, that sounds perfect, doesn't it?
And I think the only thing I would say about that one, Mukti, I would consider putting as it stooped down to drink from the pond, comma, the giant loomed over the villagers. I might actually make that a fronted adverbial one, and put that. But other than that, it does. But what you've done is absolutely correct. It works.
Joshua from Lancaster Road, have another look at what you've written, because there's something missing that's very obvious, and you can edit that and get it in.
Okay, we need to come out of here, Pi, because we're running out of time. But that's quite a good, fun activity to see. There's me again. It's a fun activity to do. It's the sort of thing I liked doing when I was at school.
Yeah, they're like riddles, really, aren't they?
Indeed, they are.
Word riddles. It's a little bit. You have to be a bit clever with it.
Yes, yes. And there's quite often there's more than one solution.
Yes. The
because
conjunction
language is so
was
flexible.
handy.
One of the things about English, it's such a flexible language.
Yeah.
You can, which is why there's so many great stories, poems, songs, all written in English and other languages, but English is really good for writers to express themselves. So, the blog challenge, Pi.
I don't remember what it was. Oh, yes, I remember. Right. There are a number of things. The first one is a sentence, a little paragraph. The snow fell. Tom waited. He was in the flat. The phone rang. He picked it up. He listened. He crossed the room. He picked up the suitcase. He opened the door. He went outside. And you can hear the problem, John. It's all accurate. It makes sense. It's a reasonable paragraph in terms of the idea, but it sounds like machine gun fire because they're all simple sentences. All of them are one clause. So
sometimes writers do that deliberately as a technique, don't they? But
they do, yes.
Not for whole swathes of paragraphs.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, you could do that first one, the snow fell, and just have that, the snow fell. But then you've got to start joining bits together. And it's about the rhythm of it. The snow fell. Tom waited inside the flat. At that moment, the phone rang, comma, he picked it up and listened. So you've got to try and join it together and create some multi-clause sentences.
Yeah, don't try and make it one sentence.
No, you'll need some short and some long.
Yes.
Second activity, you've got 3 columns. And so what I've done is I've chosen as from the first column. Then I went to the second column and I chose it was a strange request. As it was a strange request, comma, and then I've got I took my time. So what you're trying to do is create sentences that make sense, choosing one from each column. But if you look at what I've written, my subordinate clause is as it was a strange request, comma, main clause, I took my time. So that third column, they're all standalone sentences. So those are all the main clauses. So you're going to start with a subordinate clause.
Yeah, so you can play around with the order in order to make them make best sense to you, but turning those into single sentences, putting the main clause where you think it fits best and punctuating it properly. That's the key, as it is a grammar session after all. So those are your blog challenge. Okay, we're out of time, Pi.
There are actually some more activities if for those of you who are greedy for grammar homework. Next week we are in England on half term. So the next time we see you will be June
the 4th.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday. So remember that if you're in Scotland, we're not in next week because we're all on half term. Sorry, you're not, but you end term earlier than we do. So
yeah, so we're back on June the 4th with more Teaching Live grammar. So it's bye from me.
Yeah, well done, everyone. Bye.
I really enjoyed that session, Pi. I think that PowerPoint, that I would be referring to that on a regular basis.
Well, it's tough stuff, but yeah. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
I'll see you next time on June the 4th. Enjoy half term if you're on half term next week. Bye-bye.